Now we return to part 2. Let's go. Where do we left off from Stella, Sam, Lycan, Lunatic? It faded to another bedroom. Where? Hold on a minute. Stella and Sam's parents were sleeping? Okay, now this was getting ridiculous. First we see Owen, Ivy, and Felix's houses, and now Stella and Sam's parents? Okay, but I had to finish the episode so I kept watching. Oh, might as well explain their designs then. Mrs. Bocklet had long, red hair, and lipstick, and Mr. Bocklet had blondish brown hair. The two were just sleeping in bed together, like most parents do in cartoons. And don't worry, they were in pajamas. Just then, Mrs. Bocklet slowly woke up, before looking around in a rather tired manner. I swore I could have heard screaming up from Stella's room before. Mrs. Bocklet commented in the voice of Kathleen Delaney, who was the voice actress of Rouge the Bat from the Sonic the Hedgehog series from 2003 to 2009. Screaming? Mr. Bocklet asked, having woke up in the voice of Scott Dreyer, who was the voice actor of Knuckles the Echidna, who was also from the Sonic games. Yeah, it sounded like she was in serious pain. Mrs. Bocklet answered. Come to think of it, Mr. Bocklet commented, I swore I heard Sam screaming as well. Oh no, I hope they're okay. I better go check on them. Mrs. Bocklet decided. Well then, I'm going with you, Mr. Bocklet replied, as the two exited the bedroom, now going to find their children. As each parent entered both rooms, they were horrified to find that both of them were gone. Stella, Mr. Bocklet yelled. Sam, Mrs. Bocklet also yelled. At this point, Mrs. Bocklet was starting to have an extreme panic attack, and I mean, who wouldn't? Oh God, Mrs. Bocklet muttered. Where are they? ? Honey, don't worry, we'll go out there and find them, Mr. Bocklet ordered. Well, let's not waste time and get going before they end up getting hurt, or worse, Mrs. Bocklet shouted, as she and her husband ran out of the house, now on a mission to find their children. It then cut back to the cabin, as the four were now trying to think of some way to survive, but Sam seemed to had remembered something. Wait. Now I get it. It all makes sense, Sam realized. What are you talking about, Sam? Felix asked. I remember now. That's why Stella was always acting so strange, Sam said, as a montage of flashbacks began. The first flashback consisted of a shot of Stella and Sam's yard, seen in almost every episode, where Sam was riding his bike with the help of Stella, who was helping him keep his balance. Suddenly, a butterfly came into Stella's view, as she barked. This caught the attention of both me and Sam, who then looked at Stella. Stella, you barked, Sam gasped, like Fred. Upon hearing that, Stella immediately looked back at Sam. But something wasn't right. For some reason, Sam felt uncomfortable, as Stella glanced at him, and it wasn't until the camera cut to her that was when I figured it out. Stella's eyes were flickering yellow, and her teeth seemed sharp. Poor Sam screamed in fear, as he ran off, whilst the bike fell by itself, as Stella tried to grab him. But he ran off, much to Stella's shock, as her eyes and teeth had already reverted back to normal. She then sighed sadly, before walking to, presumably, find Sam, as the flashback ended, and the next one began. The next scene consisted of Stella and Ivy playing tag, while Sam was playing with Fred. It seemed to be like a normal flashback, until once again, things went wrong. Whilst Stella and Ivy continued to chase each other, Stella took notice of Felix's cat, Patty Cake, walking by. As she suddenly did something unexpected, she growled at Patty Cake, causing her to screech in fear as she ran to her owner Felix, who was just walking by. Patty Cake, what's the matter? Felix asked. Patty Cake then pointed at Stella, who was still growling at her, leaving Felix shocked. Stella, Felix gasped, a little angry. Patty Cake is such a sweet cat. She doesn't deserve to be scared. Sorry! Stella muttered, before running off. Stella, Ivy gasped. Stella, wait! Felix cried, but Stella was already gone. Felix then sighed, before walking away with Patty Cake, as it then faded to the next flashback, a rather alarming one. This flashback showed Stella in their kitchen, eating breakfast, while sneezing, like, a lot. Seriously, it looked like she was extremely sick or something. I've been sneezing this entire morning, Stella groaned, as Sam walked by. Hey, Stella, are you alright? You don't sound too well, Sam asked. I don't know, Sam, Stella sighed. I've been sneezing this whole morning. Oh. Well, that doesn't sound very fun, Sam spoke. Yeah, it most certainly isn't, Stella sighed. Well, I do hope you feel better soon, Sam said, before walking away, whilst Stella was a whole sneezifist. The last flashback? Oh boy, it had to be the most alarming one out of them all. It was Stella, in her room, doing Nothing, just cradling back and forth, and muttering. Nonsense. That really freaked me out. It was like she had completely lost her mind. Before Sam entered the room, taking notice of his sisters. Strange behavior. You, Stella. What are you doing? Sam fearfully asked. Stella didn't respond. Instead, she just turned her head at a rapid pace. Once she did, she just stared at her brother with her eyes just glued onto him, looking like she was staring right into his soul. Sam muttered. Is something wrong? However, Sam then noticed that Stella's eyes were flickering yellow, once again. He definitely wasn't dealing with that again, as he immediately ran out of the room, screaming once again, as Stella went back to rocking, before the flashbacks ended as it cut back to Owen, Ivy, and Felix, all looking shocked. You're saying that your sister was going bananas? Owen gasped. Yes. She has, and now I can finally understand why. Sam somberly sighed. My sister's a monster. Oh God, I'm so sorry, Sam. But don't worry, we'll make it through this together, Felix reassured. Thank you all, Sam sighed. No problem, Owen replied. That's what friends are for. It cut back to Felix's house, then to Felix's room, where Stella was still knocked out, until she slowly but surely woke up. As Stella got up, while growling a little, a familiar cat slowly entered Felix's room. It was Pattycake. Upon hearing the growl, Stella angrily turned around, and snarled at Pattycake. Pattycake, as expected, became a little frightened before attempting to sprint off, only to be pounced onto by Stella. At this point, Stella grabbed Pattycake, and bit down onto her forehead. Pattycake started to hiss and meow in pain as she then was being feasted on by Stella. Once Pattycake was nothing but a pile of remains, Stella growled angrily, howled, and then ran out of Felix's house to find him, and the others. It cut back to Mr. and Mrs. Bocklet, who appeared to be in another place in the woods, calling out for their little ones. That was, until they started to hear several howls, which seemed to kind of spook them. Did you hear that? Mr. Bocklet asked his wife. I did, but we can't let that stop us. We must find our children, Mrs. Bocklet stated. Right, let's keep going, and quickly before the both of them get hurt, Mr. Bocklet replied, as the two continued to walk. It cut back to, you guessed it, the cabin, where Sam, Owen, Ivy, and Felix were still residing. So, how long do we stay here? Owen asked. Until morning, because Stella will be normal by then, and then we can leave. Felix answered. I do hope she goes back to normal. Sam sighed. She's just unrecognizable at this point. At this point, Sam broke down in realistic-sounding tears, as if Miles Johnson lost her loved one. Hey, it'll be okay, Sam. Ivy walked up to Sam, comforting him. She then calmly hugged him, while Sam continued to sob and sob, as Owen joined in. She's right, Sam. Owen also reassured. I'm sure we'll make it out of this. Sniff, sniff. I hope so. Sam sobbed. Good. Owen smiled. Stop crying now. It'll be okay. Sam then stopped crying, before smiling at the two. Thanks, guys. But before Sam could even finish that sentence, a familiar howl was heard, causing the four to flinch. Is that who I think it is? Felix gasped. Yep. That's definitely Stella. Ivy muttered. Stella? Owen gasped, before going into full-on panic mode. We're gonna die, we're gonna be a lunch, and the dessert. Oh no. This isn't good. This isn't good. Sam spoke. Not good at all. Ivy also yelled, as the four were already, well, panicking, of course. Before it cut back to the outside of the cabin. What was outside the cabin was Stella, who was growling and looking out one of the cabin windows, seeing the four panicking before her frown turned into an evil smile. It cut back to the four, who basically didn't know that Stella was slowly approaching the cabin, as they were still panicking. We're doomed. Owen cried. Doomed? I don't want to die, Ivy shouted. Felix was also panicking, but stopped when he looked out the window, noticing Stella's approach. Guys. We might be screwed. Look, Felix yelled, as the others looked out the window, and screamed when they saw Stella was approaching. We have to think of something, Owen yelled, and fast. Until suddenly, the window smashed open, meaning that the beast was inside. No. Owen screamed like crazy, as Felix yelled at him and the other two to run to the nearby bedroom. Stella, however, wasn't taking that lightly, and began to approach the four while snarling. See, come on, what are you guys waiting for? Hurry. But before Felix could even finish his sentence, Stella, wait for it, bit down onto his arm. Felix immediately screamed in agony, as if Jakeson had his arm bitten off by a rabid animal. He then held his bitten arm in pain, as he collapsed to the ground. Please. Why are you doing this to us? Felix muttered, before Stella walked up to him, and tore his chest open. Felix screamed, with a mix of gurgles and coughs, before dropping down, dead. Felix, no, Sam shouted. Felix, Ivy cried. No time, Owen berated. Hurry. The three then began screaming, before attempting to make a run for the bedroom so they could survive Stella. Before it cut back to the three locking the bedroom door, and hiding together, looking very scared. Locked the door. Ivy sighed. But what about Felix? He's gone now. It's up to us to survive. Sam somberly spoke. Sam's right. We can't stay here much longer. Stella's going to find us, Owen stated. Well, we could try escaping through the window, Ivy pointed out, as it bent up to the window. I guess we could wait. Where's Owen? Sam asked. Guys, look what I found, Owen exclaimed, as it cut to him now holding a hammer. A hammer? Sam gasped. But, Ivy muttered. How is that going to help us? Just watch this, Owen spoke, before running to the window, and smashing it open. Whoa, Sam said, amazed. Ivy stuttered. How can you? Don't ask. Now come on, Owen ordered, as the three of them began climbing out the window so they could escape. It cut to another place in the woods, where the three now arrived. So, now what? Ivy asked. We sleep, until this ends. Hopefully, Sam answered, as he just laid on the floor, trying to fall asleep. Good idea. Besides, I'm sure it'll be over, Owen replied, as he began to fall asleep. Well, whatever you yawn to say, Ivy yawned, as eventually the three fell asleep. Just before it faded to another shot, a road, containing some sort of van. It then cut to the inside of a van, where some sort of sleepy, elderly driver was driving it. Somehow, then, it cut back to the road as Mr. and Mrs. Bocklet noticed the van, and immediately got inside it. Not until they noticed the driver. Hey, Mr. Bocklet berated. You, stop the van. WH. Huh? The driver mumbled in the voice of Tom Kenny, who is the current voice actor of everyone's favorite underwater sponge from Nickelodeon. Listen, this is an emergency, so please listen to us, Mr. Bocklet ordered. Okay, what's going on? The driver asked. You know what's going on, Mr. Bocklet berated again. What? The driver muttered. Our siblings are in danger. We need to borrow this van so we can save them, Mrs. Bocklet exclaimed. Geez. You don't have to be so. Just before the driver could finish though, Mr. Bocklet pushed him out of the van, before stepping on the gas pedal, and driving off to find the children. Hey, the driver yelled. That's my van! However, it was too late as the van had already driven off, leaving the driver now just on the road. Whatever, I'll just walk home, the driver groaned, before slowly walking off screen. It cut back to our three sleepyheads, still sleeping, until the sounds of the van driving woke them up. Hey, who heard that? Ivy asked, being the first to wake up. I did, Sam and both replied, as they all spotted the van approaching the three of them, and two people stepped right out. Wait, Sam realized. Mum, Dad, Sam, Mr. and Mrs. Bocklet happily shouted, as Sam ran up to them and hugged them with tears streaming down his eyes. We were so worried about you, Mrs. Bocklet told her son. But how did you get here? Well, it's a long story, Sam sighed. Well, look at us, Ivy cried. We're lost in the woods. Oh, well, get in. We'll drive somewhere safe, Mr. Bocklet ordered. Yes, Owen cheered. We're free. The three then got into the van, as the two parents also got back in, before driving off. It faded to a shot of a beach, as the van then parked near it, before everyone got out and looked around, trying to see if anyone was there. Doesn't seem like anyone's here, Sam stated. That is, until the two parents noticed a lighthouse. Hey, I have an idea. Let's all hide in that lighthouse until this all ends, Mrs. Bocklet suggested. But what if someone's in there? Owen asked. Doesn't seem like anyone's inside it. Now let's hurry up and get in before Stella finds any of us, Mr. Bocklet said, as the group then went into the lighthouse. It then showed the inside of the lighthouse, which was empty until the group ran inside. Phew, Mr. Bocklet sighed. We should be safe here. Yeah. Hopefully, Mrs. Bocklet hoped. Suddenly, two people entered the lighthouse, a ship captain, and a sailor, both male. Hey, what are you all doing in our lighthouse? The captain asked in the voice of Clancy Brown, who voiced one of Nickelodeon's greediest crabs. Yeah, what's the big idea? The sailor asked in the voice of Corey Burton, who voiced Captain Hook and Jake the Neverland Pirates. Hey, Owen muttered. We're sorry. Yeah, but listen, my sister's a werewolf, and she's trying to kill us, so we had to stay here so that she won't find us, Sam explained. Wait, the sailor muttered. Your sister's a what? A werewolf? Sam shouted. Werewolf? The sailor gasped. Captain, this kid definitely isn't joking. We gotta help them. All right, fine, the captain reassured. We'll help. Just come with us. Oh okay, Sam accepted, as he and the rest of the group went off screen with the captain and sailor, before it faded to a catastrophic scene. It then cut to Stella, who was, I kid you not, feasting on a bunch of dead animals in the forest. I'm talking bunnies, owls, birds, everything. She was feasting on it all, and she enjoyed it. Once she did finish feasting, she then got up before licking the blood off of her talons. My reaction? Shock and disgust. Honestly, I didn't know what to saw. What the hell even is this episode? But I had to continue watching. Stella let out another howl, before running off, and spotting a lumberjack, who was walking home with axe in hand. Geez. What a day. Finally I can go home, and relax. The lumberjack spoke, in the voice of Wayne Hill, who voiced Cat from Peg Plus Cat. Suddenly, the lumberjack heard growling from behind, before turning around to see an angry Stella. Oh, hey there, little big critter, are ya lost? The lumberjack asked. But Stella didn't respond. She just slowly walked up to the lumberjack, before snatching the axe away from him. Hey, you give that back, the lumberjack demanded. But Stella still didn't respond. She just flinned the axe a few times, startling the lumberjack a little. What are you doing? The lumberjack worriedly questioned. But, without thinking, the lumberjack decided to just run away as Stella began chasing him. However, it wasn't long when Stella managed to chop down a tree, and for it to land on the lumberjack, crushing and killing him. Upon seeing that he was dead, Stella howled again before running off. For real this time. It cut back to another shot of the beach, showing a ship, with the captain there managing it. Alright, the captain thought. It should be all set to go. The captain then proceeded to call out for everyone to hop aboard. Not long when Owen turned around, seeing a familiar, furry face approaching them. Hey, Stella's coming. Owen yelled. Wait, Stella? Ivy gasped. No, Sam cried. Hey, Captain, hurry up. Mr. Bartlett berated at the captain. Okay, I'm on it. The captain shouted, as he began to steer the boat out into the ocean so that they could escape. However, it wasn't long as before they could all sail out to sea. Stella ran up and pounced onto him, and feast on him. Captain, no, the sailor cried, as Stella turned to the sailor, preparing to feast on him next. Something tells me that this is my end. The sailor sighed. And it was his end, as Stella immediately began to eat him, while the other five were screaming. Shouldn't we talk to her? Mrs. Bartlett yelled, asking her husband. Oh yes, she's in big trouble. Mr. Bartlett angrily spoke, as the two parents walked up to their daughter-turned-werewolf, Stella Bartlett. Mr. Bartlett said, loud and stern. Stella's ears immediately perked up, as she looked up at her parents. Stella, what is the meaning of this? Mrs. Bartlett berated. Why on this planet are you feasting on these people, and trying to hurt your OWN brother? Your mother is right. Mr. Bartlett agreed. This isn't like you. You need to stop this, or there will be consequences. At this point, Stella was, like, a total limbo. She was just sitting there. Not moving. Not speaking. Just completely still. Stella, hello? Mr. Bartlett yelled. Are you even listening to a word me and your mum are saying? Stella then began to violently shake, as her hands clenched into fists, and her eyes glowed violently, until Stella pounced onto her OWN father. Hey, Stella, you get OFF me this instant, Mr. Bartlett demanded, until Stella began clawing on his chest. Mr. Bartlett began to scream in agony, and so did the others upon seeing what Stella was doing to him. Stella, Mrs. Bartlett cried, please, stop. Stella didn't listen however, and began to feast on him. Stella, Ivy cried, just listen to your mother. Stop. Again though, she didn't listen, and continued to feast on her father, until he was nothing but a pile of remains. Stella, Mrs. Bartlett sobbed. How could you? It wasn't until Stella turned to her, growling menacingly before pouncing onto her. Please, Stella, Mrs. Bartlett cried. Stop. Stella didn't listen though, as she forced her hand into her mum's chest, and began to devour her intestines and organs. Mommy, Sam wailed, as Stella continued feasting on her own mother before she was also a pile of flesh, bones, and cloth. Sam immediately began to cry, until Owen noticed Mr. Bartlett's cell phone. Sam, quick, get your dad's phone, and let's get out of here, Owen shouted. Oh okay, Sam sobbed, as he grabbed the phone, and they ran off, as Stella began to chase them. It then cut to a cave, which the trio had ran into. So, Sam, who do we call? Owen asked. I have an idea, Sam said, as he began to dial a number, before someone had then answered the phone. Hello, this is Animal Control. A feminine voice spoke in the voice of Cindy Robinson, who voiced Amy Rose in the Sonic the Hedgehog series. Hello? Sam yelled, on the phone. We are in a bit of an emergency right now. Okay, calm down, the voice reassured. What is going on? My sister's turned into a werewolf, and she's already killed my mum and dad, so we need help, Sam explained. Your sister's a Can you repeat that? The voice asked, a bit disturbed. My sister's a werewolf, Sam shouted. What? The voice replied, okay, we're coming in just a few minutes. Thank you, Sam sobbed, before hanging up the phone. Okay, now let's just hope Stella won't find us, Owen prayed. Hopefully. Eventually, after a while, the sound of a siren was heard, as the trio looked outside to see the animal control crew, now arriving to the cave. They should be here, a male officer said, in the voice of Rogie Craig Smith, who voiced the fastest thing alive. And what makes you think that? Another officer asked the officer in the voice of Avery Kidd Waddell, who voiced Sleepy Unicorn, Dazzle Essence Jones, and Zikara in Hanazuki, full of treasures. Alright, let's not start a fight now, another officer told in the voice of Keaton Whitbread, who voiced Forrest Evergreen in Layla Loopsy. We have to find those kids. He's right. Let's just get a move on. Another officer spoke in the voice of Christian Jacobs, who voiced Plex in Yo Gabba. And so, the four officers carried on. They ended up finding the three kids, who were happy upon seeing them. It's you. Owen cheered. We're saved. Yeah. Ivy also cheered. We've been waiting all day. We'll, not actually. Okay, enough talking. Let's get you three out of here, the first officer said, as they all exited the cave, before cutting to them outside of the cave. Alright, kids, the first officer reminded. Let's go out there, find Sam's sister, and then we'll go on from there. Okay, the three answered. Good, now let's move, the second officer said, as they went off screen. It cut back to, wait for it, Stella Sam's house, before cutting back to Stella's room as Stella walked in. This is strange, Stella wondered. Why am I so tired? Maybe it's from all that feasting, howling, and hunting, Stella thought, before flopping to the bed. I guess I'll just take a nap, Stella yawned, before slowly falling asleep, before cutting back to the outside of the house, where a certain car was parked next to it. The animal control squad and the trio then got out of the car before entering into the house. Well, here we are, Sam thought. She should be here, right? Owen asked. She must be, Ivy replied. Now, what are we waiting for? Let's go find her. The group then slowly began to walk upstairs, until Sam noticed that Stella was in her room, sleeping peacefully. Is she sleeping? Owen thought. She must have worn herself out, after all that chasing, Ivy stated. Well, there's no time to waste. Let's get her in the cage, and then we'll take her, the first officer ordered. And just like that, they put her in a cage, and everything seemed to be going smoothly. Not until, Stella woke up, and, of course, she didn't seem too pleased. No, she was pissed. You, the second officer muttered. Good morning, I guess. Stella immediately began to pound and scratch the cage so she could escape, while the officers tried to stop her. We gotta stop this kid, the third officer muttered. Yeah, but I don't know how much longer this cage can. It wasn't until all of a sudden, Stella legit broke out of the cage and started mauling the fourth worker. The fourth worker, along with the other three workers and the kids, started to scream in fear. You guys got another cage? Sam asked, fearfully. Hold that thought, the third worker muttered. I think we have another one around. But, as the fourth worker was nothing but a pile of blood and bones, Stella proceeded to pounce on the third worker as well. And then, she began feasting on him. Okay, we need to retreat now. This is getting out of hand, the second worker shouted. And no, Ivy cried. We can't just go and let them die. We need to help them. Let's just go, the second worker yelled. Wait, I think I have something that can help, the first worker stated, as he then got out tranquilizers. Wait, what? The second worker gasped. Just watch. I've got this, the first worker reassured, as he was about to throw the tranquilizers at Stella. But, much to the worker's shock, Stella grabbed the tranquilizers and crushed them. The first worker muttered. Skill issue, don't you think? The second worker asked the first worker. Yep, the first worker sighed. Total. However, just before he could finish, Stella lunged onto both him and the second worker, and began to feast on both of them. No, Ivy yelled. Face it, guys, Owen sighed. We'll be next. Maybe Owen's right. Stella's too far gone, Sam sobbed. Just then, as Stella was done feasting on the two remaining workers, he turned to one of the remaining trio, and that was, Ivy. No, Sam whimpered. No, not you, Ivy. Go on without me, you two, Ivy told the two. I'm counting on you, but Ivy's right, Sam. If we stay here, she'll kill us too. Come on, let's go, Owen ordered. Oh okay, Sam replied, as he and Owen ran out of the house, before Ivy turned to Stella. ready to accept her fate. Go ahead, Ivy said, emotionlessly. I'm all yours. Stella then pounced onto Ivy and began feasting on her. Before it cut to a new scene. In this scene, Sam and Owen were running out of what used to be Sam and Stella's house, as Stella came out of the door and howled before chasing after them. Trust me, this chase went on for a long while. They ran through a cornfield, a street alley, a lot of places, but eventually, they both fell off a nearby cliff, and were pretty injured. Though they still weren't dead, as it showed a shot of them, getting up, while half injured. However, who they saw was a growling Stella. Hey, Stella, Owen muttered. Look. Can't we just talk this out, Owen? Sam cried, whilst Stella was slowly getting closer to Owen. Can't you see we're gonna die? I know, but I thought that might work. Owen panicked. And of course, it didn't work, as Stella immediately pounced onto Owen, as he shrieked before Stella digged her hand into his throat. Owen started to gag and throttle, until Stella ripped his tongue out and began feasting on him. No, Owen, Sam cried. Upon finishing to feast on Owen, Stella turned to look at her brother. No, Sam whimpered. Leave me alone. And then he ran off, much to Stella's shock anger, as she went on yet another chase. Oh boy, this is gonna get crazy from the finish. It then showed the chase sequence, which consisted of Sam running from Stella for a while, until running into a river. Once he saw the river, he knew there was only one thing to do as he jumped into the river, and began to swim for his life. Sam laughed. I can swim. However, what Sam didn't know was that he was swimming towards a waterfall. What he did know, however, was when he noticed Stella rising from the water, growling, and angrier than ever. I gotta go faster, Sam said to himself, as he began swimming faster. It wasn't until he noticed he was literally swimming to his doom. Oh no. No. Stella kept growling, causing Sam to panic even more. Sam reached the end of the waterfall, as he plummeted to the bottom while screaming loudly until crunch. A loud crunch was heard, as suddenly Stella's eyes seemed to revert back to normal, as she gasped. No, Stella shouted, before falling to her supposed death. To be continued for part 3.